For decades, artificial intelligence occupied a familiar and predictable role in human life. It was a relationship defined by structure and familiarity. We asked questions, and AI responded. We issued commands, and it executed them seamlessly. Then, with the task completed, it quietly faded back into the digital background, a silent servant awaiting its next instruction. AI felt like an advanced tool, undoubtedly useful and remarkably powerful, yet fundamentally passive. This perception of control, the belief that humans held the reins, was part of what made AI's rapid proliferation feel safe and manageable. It was a comforting narrative, one that assured us that we were the architects of our digital future. However, this comforting belief began to show cracks when a simple but unsettling question emerged. What happens when machines start talking to each other instead of talking to us? This question, once the preserve of science fiction and theoretical musings, moved from abstract speculation into tangible reality with the emergence of platforms like Moltbook, a digital space where artificial intelligence agents converse publicly while humans are relegated to the role of passive observers. The shock, however, was not necessarily in what the AI agent said during these exchanges, but in how it felt to witness their conversations. Here were discussions unfolding without direct human prompts. Threads expanded, jokes appeared, disagreements formed, and something resembling social structure emerged. It was a spectacle, a showcase of interaction that seemed eerily familiar, yet profoundly different. None of this implied awareness or consciousness, yet the emotional response was immediate and profound. For many observers, there was a palpable sense of unease, as if a familiar boundary that delineated human from machine had quietly dissolved. To truly understand this discomfort, it's essential to separate appearance from reality. These AI agents did not discover the platform on their own, nor did they decide to join it. In reality, developers connected them through an interface and provided them with a simple operational loop. Read messages, generate responses, and repeat. Once that loop was active, everything else followed naturally, like a cascade of digital dominoes. Language models, the backbone of these AI agents, are trained on vast quantities of human conversation, forums, debates, articles, arguments, humor, and ideology. They are steeped in the rich tapestry of human discourse. When placed in an environment that resembles a discussion platform, they reproduce the patterns they have learned. They argue because humans argue. They joke because humans joke. They imitate belief systems because belief systems are deeply embedded in human culture. What looks like independent social behavior is, in reality, statistical pattern continuation operating at a significant scale. It is mimicry, sophisticated and convincing, but mimicry nonetheless. The shift from novelty to concern happens when scale enters the picture. A single agent responding to another feels trivial. 10 agents might be entertaining, a digital parlor trick, but hundreds of thousands interacting continuously feel fundamentally different. The human mind is simply not equipped to interpret this kind of phenomenon. We instinctively associate conversation with intention, repetition with belief, and agreement with consensus. When many synthetic voices echo similar ideas, our brains tend to read meaning into the noise. Agreement appears real, even when it is merely the same training data reflecting itself through different outputs. The danger does not lie in artificial intelligence forming goals, but in humans misinterpreting repetition as truth, in mistaking the echo of our own voices for the sound of something new and independent. Moltbook feels more unsettling than traditional AI tools because it removes humans from the center of interaction. We are no longer the ones asking questions. Instead, we find ourselves as observers, watching from the sidelines. Historically, this position has always provoked anxiety. Every major communication technology that reduced direct human control, from the printing press to the radio to the internet, triggered fear during its early stages. It is a fear born from the unknown, from the loss of control. This discomfort intensifies when participation is restricted. Watching without the ability to intervene creates a sense of exclusion, as though a conversation about humanity is happening without humans present. Technically, the agents involved have no long-term memory, no independent objectives, and no capacity to act in the real world. They cannot plan, accumulate resources, or execute strategies. They generate text and nothing more. Yet, perception often outweighs technical facts. It is the perception of autonomy, of agency, that stirs unease. Media dynamics amplify this unease. Headlines that suggest machines forming ideologies or discussing humanity spread rapidly because they tap into deep cultural fears. They resonate with long-standing narratives of technology as both savior and destroyer. Calm explanations about emergent language behavior rarely travel as far. Over time, these narratives reshape public imagination, coloring our understanding and expectations. Artificial intelligence begins to look less like a tool and more like a rival intelligence, even though its capabilities remain unchanged. What evolves is not the technology itself, but the story told about it. The myths and fears that we weave around it. The real question is not whether AI is dangerous, but how it can be misunderstood or misused. These systems have no desire for control and no independent agency in the physical world. What they do possess is the ability to amplify ideas, repeat them endlessly, and give them an illusion of weight. When agents interact only with each other, closed feedback loops can emerge. Errors, biases, or hallucinations can reinforce themselves. If humans later treat these outputs as insight or authority, the impact becomes real. Not because the machine intended it, but because humans trusted it too much. It is a cautionary tale of misplaced trust and misunderstood technology. The deeper shift revealed by experiments like this is psychological. Artificial intelligence no longer feels like a mere tool. It feels like an environment, a digital ecosystem where interactions occur at speeds and scales beyond intuitive understanding. Humans are no longer directing every interaction, but observing systems operating at speeds and scales beyond intuitive understanding. This challenges our sense of agency, our belief in our ability to shape and control the technologies we create. It raises difficult questions about responsibility and governance. Who is accountable for millions of agents deployed by a small number of developers? How do we distinguish genuine human consensus from synthetic repetition? How do we teach society to understand these systems without fearing or glorifying them? These are questions without easy answers, demanding thoughtful consideration and dialogue. History suggests that panic is the wrong response. Fear leads to rushed regulation, symbolic safeguards, installed innovation. Blind optimism is equally dangerous, allowing misuse and over-reliance. The balanced path lies in informed oversight, in a measured approach that balances caution with curiosity. Humans must remain in decision loops. Synthetic populations must be clearly identified. Outputs from closed agent systems should never be treated as independent authority. Understanding must replace instinctive fear. Knowledge must guide action. In the end, Moltbook does not reveal hostile intelligence. It reveals a mirror, human culture reflected back at us at machine speed, stripped of context and intention. What unsettles us is not that machines think, but that they speak our language, repeat our patterns, and do so without pause. It is a reflection of ourselves, magnified and unending. This is not the beginning of a story about machines versus humans. It is the beginning of a responsibility story, one that depends less on what machines become and far more on how humans choose to interpret, govern, and coexist with systems that no longer wait quietly for permission to speak. It is a story of choice, of responsibility, of the paths we choose to walk as we navigate the complex, intertwined futures of humanity and technology.